Alright, so with this lesson, we're going to get back to making complete drawings again. We're going to continue the work that we were doing on two-point perspective, to where we've got not just the central vanishing point, but the 2 points. And so the drawing today looks a lot more complex than the ones you did in the last exercise, but it's just a lot more of the same. We're just adding a lot of complexity to it. Okay, so let me show you. It started off, of course, as a rough drawing, just an idea. And you can see I'm drawing pretty lightly. I'm not even using a ruler. I'm just drawing things back, working things out, okay? And so then, after I did that, I thought, okay, well, I'll do it for real since it seems to be working out just fine, and I'll do it for you guys. Okay. And so in doing it, though, I thought, oh, you know, I'm always telling you guys that you don't have to create every little guideline, and you don't have to, and please do not draw dark. So I thought, okay, I should make an example of how ridiculous it could get. So if you look at this crazy bird's nest of a spider web of confusion, this is actually all the structure that goes underneath this. And it looks like so much, doesn't it? But it's really not. You know, if we just erase things as we go along, it'll be just fine. Okay. So I'm going to use this actually as my cheat sheet now because I've worked everything out and you guys don't want me to spend too much time doing stuff. So that will be just fine. So just, you know, go ahead and follow along like we have in the past. Okay, now, so I've talked about before that the horizon line makes a really big difference, whether you put it up high or whether you put it low. Okay, well, this one I want it to just be eye level, so I'm going to go ahead and put my horizon line about in the middle of the page. Right about there. That's good. And I'm going to be drawing darker than what I would normally, just so you could see the lines and watch how I did the construction. So I've got my horizon line, and I'm going to establish that I've got my two vanishing points, one on one side and one on the other. The next thing I have to do is I have to figure out, well, how big am I going to make this? And so, like I've said before, don't start with the ruler. Start with just a drawing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna draw a house, and it's gonna be about, so big and so big, and to really fill up the page a little bit. And so maybe something around this size right here, and so that's my beginning. Okay. So then from there, that's when I can start figuring out, well, let's make it a little bit better. Okay, so once again, I'm going to draw these darker than what I normally would. So I often start on the corner. So here I am, just lining things up on here and drawing this out. And when in doubt, you could always measure things. So like if I drew here, drew a little nub on my ruler right here, and down here, line that up. Did I really get it parallel to the edge of the page? Yeah, not too bad. Okay. So now I'd said like, well, I'm going to draw the ends about here. So that way I don't have to draw things all the way back, all the way back, all the way back to the line. Okay. Well, we know all that. That's all been covered in other lessons. So I don't want to keep going over things. So I'm going to draw this back, and I'll draw this back here. Once again, I'm not drawing it super dark, but still way darker than what I would if I was doing it for my own drawing. It'd be much lighter than this. Okay, so here, it's going back to this vanishing point, and this is going to go back to this vanishing point. And so here's the main body of my house. And so you can see it's just my basic sort of box shape. A little bit above the horizon line, a little bit below the horizon line. Now here's where the complexity comes in, but none of this is anything that you haven't done before. It's just doing more of it. So I want to put a series of windows on my house, and I want to add some additions and a little garage and a little sort of foyer right here and stuff like that. And I want them to all be, kind of measured and right, proportionate. So I'll just start cutting things in half. That's a good way of getting proportions, is to make things symmetrical. And to make things symmetrical, well, find the middle of things. So I'm just going to draw an X on this side, and that gives me the middle point of this wall right here. And if I wanted to, then I could just go straight up, and I would find the peak of the roof. So once again, if I wanted to be really, really careful about things, I could measure here, make a mark on my paper, and measure up here in order to get it absolutely straight. Okay. Now don't worry, eventually in the art class we'll be doing things that are far more imaginative. But right now I'm teaching you realism through all the observational drawing that we've done and everything else, because realism is something that you can check and see really where your progress is. You can have an opinion. There is a right and a wrong when it comes to realism, right? You don't have that if you're just doing abstract expressionism or something like that. Okay, good enough. We'll get to that. So anyways, I've got my roof right here from finding the center. Very simple. Now, if I wanted to have an addition to the house here and I wanted it to be sort of proportional, okay, I could do that. Remember the train tracks? Remember the fence posts? If I just have the center line right here and the corner right here, then all I have to do is draw through and I could find the other side of this wall right here. Okay. Which guidelines can I get rid of? Well, some of them. I could probably get rid of this guideline for sure. Because remember, I don't want that bird's nest of guidelines. So I think while I'm working in here, and while I want to get rid of some of the guidelines, I'll go ahead and find out where I'm going to put the windows. So I just have this row of 3 windows across here, and they're all evenly spaced, and they're all about the same size. So I can just take these and divide them again. So I'll just go here and here. Excuse me, go here and here. And here. And even here. And back over here. 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 And here. So you'll see that I've just got a bunch of X's that are dividing up my squares. The same way as I'd drawn the big X and the big one and found it was in half and cut this in half this way, then I could just have those go ahead and cut those X's up, right, into all these different sections. Okay. So then I could just say like, well, okay, how big do I want my windows? Well, I'll just draw one right here. That's just sort of arbitrary, and I can say, and I can use that as my guideline for all the other windows, because then I can go from here down to my vanishing point right here and get my row of windows. So there's the top, and if I was just to go straight down, I say like, okay, where that encounters that X right there, that'll be right in the middle of that square. And I'll just go back once again to the vanishing point, and that'll give me the bottom for all my windows. And if I've drawn good, everything should line up pretty well. See how that all worked? Of course, I could just do the same thing down here to match it. So if I just went here and went straight down, let's see, right about here. And once again, I could measure, if I really wanted to be careful about it, I could say like, oh, okay, it's going to be from the edge of the paper here to here. Okay, that's lining up. Good. Okay. But it should also just line up on all my X's. if you're careful about this stuff in the linear perspective, it should all just work. Okay, so that's how wide it's going to be. So I'll just take a moment right now to draw my guidelines for the top back. See, and I don't have to go all the way back here. I just have to line it up with my ruler. That's all. Don't draw a bunch of extra lines that you don't need. Okay, and everything might not always line up perfect. It's hard to get everything to line up absolutely perfect all the time, but you can probably get it close, and a lot closer than if you had just totally free-handed it. Okay, so I've got my windows right here. So let me once again start eliminating all those guidelines that I don't need. That way I don't get the big rat's nest. Once again, even the dark that I'm doing right now probably wouldn't do it that dark at this point. I just want to make it clear for you guys to be able to see. Okay, so you see we've got that. Looks pretty good. So now, if I wanted to do the little garage that I have over here,